Hello friends, I hope you are having a fantastic day. If you're new here, my name's Julie and I'm a novice sewist who's working towards making my fantasy wardrobe a reality. Today we're going to be jumping into part 4 of the wrap dress series. I am actually very excited for this one. This is a dress that I've wanted for a really long time. There was a TikTok going around on Pinterest, but the dress that she was wearing was absolutely stunning, and I think it was probably silk. But today we're going to be making it out of satin. Look at this. Look at this beautiful satin. It's so, it's pretty. Lyle picked this color. I thought it was a bit bold, but like I've said before, this year we are working on confidence. So, is it bold? Yes. Is it going to look lovely on me? Yes, assuming that I can put it together with the instructions. Considering how the last pattern went, that was that was highly stressful. And we are going to be making this dress right here, this beautiful wrap dress. I'm going to be making the long version, but I actually don't want it. I want it more T-length than long. I'm going to do the bishop sleeves because I think they're so cool, and I'm just really excited. Okay. So, I've got all the pattern transferred. I will stop rambling and we will just get to sewing this beautiful dress. Open eye, feel the waves cut through me. There are so many pieces. Okay, so I got this fabric laid out and then called the master sewist because I thought I needed permission. This is the back of the satin, and I just think it looks like the perfect lining fabric, so I was like, can I use this as the lining and put this on the outside instead of satin on the inside as the lining? And the sewing master was like, yeah, do whatever you want, it's fabric. And I was like, right, I don't need to ask permission, I can just do whatever I want. So that's what I'm doing. I'm also not going to line the skirt because I don't want to. Yeah, that's it. Hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, chemicals collide. As soon as I started cutting this, I realized just how, you can see just how absolutely delicate this fabric is. I can't even mark it with my chalk. It starts to snag the edges. So I'm just going to preemptively start zigzagging every edge as I cut it because I'd rather zigzag every edge and not have things fall apart. I found a needle. I had to look up what size to use and I realized, oh, I have that size. I was messing around with some settings and I found a very delicate zigzag set at the lowest length, the lowest width, and a shorter length was absolutely perfect for just zigzagging these seams. And it's fairly indestructible now. Like, I've been pulling at it to make sure that like it's gonna be okay, and yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just start zigzagging edges as I cut it out. I am well into cutting out this dress and this pattern, and only to realize that it's not a true wrap dress, it's a fake wrap dress with a zipper, and I have no idea how I missed that. I have absolutely no idea how I missed that. So, because I cannot go grab a zipper, that is not an option for me at this point, I am just going to try to make this into a wrap dress, and we'll see how that goes. One of the things that I have noticed is that the skirt is super full. They are cutting 4 side panels, and that's just a lot, and I also want like a curve to the front. So this works out better for the skirt and how I want it. I'm just going to put the front panels onto a side panel, onto a back panel, and call it done, because it is what it is, and we'll see how it works. We'll see what happens. You know, that's what we're here for. We are here for, we will see what happens. And if you guys have ever made a mistake like this, you're not alone. We'll figure it out. I'm gonna start working on the skirt. I'm gonna sew the skirt together. I had some other stuff come up, and so this project kind of had to sit on the waylines for a little bit. And now that I'm coming back to it, I'm like, oh no, because I just don't know what's gonna happen. So we're gonna get the skirt sewn together. I did take out 2 side panels, because they wanted 4 side panels. So I'm like, I don't want it that poofy, so I took out 2 side panels and I split the center panel in half and then rounded the edges. So I'm just gonna get that skirt together and see how it looks, and hopefully it looks okay. So let's get in on that. I have it all sewn together. I have it all pinned together. I just need to sew it. And I'm not gonna do a seam allowance. I'm just gonna zigzag the edges because we're going off the rails here. I'm just gonna zigzag the edges together and call her done. Okay, so the first thing it has us doing in the pattern that I can actually follow, so we'll see where we get to with this. It's got sort of this pleated edge here, and it says to stay stitched down the bodice. So I'm gonna do that on both sides. Oh, it's such a beautiful fabric. I'm so excited. It says that to do that down both sides, and then we're gonna be attaching the front bodice to the back bodice and doing darts in the back bodice, which I think I already have put in, and if I don't, I do have them put in. Oh, good job, Past Julie. Nice. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna stay stitched and then put darts in, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. I have the back darts sewn in, and they said as a tip to leave tails at the top the way I did there and to knot it, and it seems to have worked. I don't know, like to avoid the bubble that you'll get here at the top of a dart. And it seems to have worked beautifully. I don't understand why, but it worked, and I'm very happy about it. I've got them sewn together at the shoulder and ironed, and now we need to put together the lining. So I'm going to be doing that. There's a bunch of darts to put into the lining, so I'm going to just start with all the darts and we'll see what happens. I have all the darts done. I'm doing this part, the outside, so not the satin bit, but the underneath, as the lining, just because I actually just really like the look of this. So I think it's going to make a really nice lining. So I've got them all the darts put in. And now we're just going to do the exact same thing that we did with the bodice and stitch the linings together at the shoulders. Okay, so these are all connected, and now we have to connect the bodice to the lining and sew in the neckline on each half, which is still very strange. I'm not sure why we are here. I don't look ahead in instructions. If you're new here, I don't like to look ahead in instructions. It makes me very anxious, and then I get a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress, and then I can't continue. So avoid the later stages of instructions because that's my creative process. We're doing okay over here. We're doing send help. Okay, so I'm gonna connect the lining and the bodice and then sew the neckline, and yeah, then we're gonna have a neckline done. That's something. That is something. Heck yes. Okay. I have the necklines all stitched to sew together. It said I was gonna have to stretch the bodice to make it match the lining, and the bodice is longer than the lining by a good like 1.5 inches, and I have no idea what happened there. I have no idea. But considering the off the rails this project has gone, we're just gonna roll with it. We're just gonna make it work, and that's just how today is gonna go. My cup says sewing room forecast. Panic with a chance of progress, which is very accurate for what's happening right now. I realized that at step 1, I'd forgotten to do something, and that could be why none of my pieces are lining up the way that they should be. So I took everything apart of the bodice, and now we are going to start from square one. Well, I took everything apart except for the shoulder seams, because I think I can do everything without taking those apart. And what had happened was there is a point here on the piece, the bodice piece here, where I'm supposed to gather here, and hopefully that will make everything fit a little bit better. So that's what I'm going to do on both of the front pieces. And then we will hope that they will fit. I did the gather in the front bodice, and it now fits much better along the seam. There's still a tiny bit of overlapping right here, but not nearly as much as what it was before, and hopefully it just works and looks nice. So I'm going to sew these together and then iron them and hope that everything goes to plan, because if not, the alternative is to recut it and figure it out. So let's hope this works. That looks so much better. Okay. That was really stressful, but yeah, it looks so much better. And now we're going to understitch the seam, which I think understitching is stitching the lining to the back, like to the seam on the back, and top stitching would be stitching the front on the seam, or at least close to the seam. I think that's how it works. I think I'm figuring this out. So yeah, I'm gonna understitch the lining to the seam here, so it'll help hide the lining bits. And then yeah, I've got it all ironed, and then we'll move on to the next one, which I have no idea what it is because I don't have my instructions here. Okay, so these gathers are gonna have to come out a little bit. I gathered a little too much and now seams aren't lining up again. So I've just kind of pulled them apart a little bit. The next thing they have us doing is folding the pleats in to make this in the bodice, and basting it here with the bodice like this. So I'm going to do that on both sides, and then I'm going to sew up the center back because I'm not putting a zipper in. I'm going to sew up the center back and then try on the top and see, we'll see what the situation is. I am going to just sew a staying stitch to keep these two pieces here in the back together so that I'm not fighting with 4 pieces. I'm just trying to sew 2 together. So I'm gonna do that first on both sides, and then I'll sew the backs together. And then we'll kind of know whether or not this is going to work. And because this channel is about growth and learning through your mistakes, the fact that this video is up means nothing. So and you may have noticed that I am making the seam allowances bigger than probably what was recommended. That's because I had to make this several sizes bigger because of the pattern that I had access to. So I'm not being too fussy with the seam allowances and hoping that maybe that takes it down a little bit. I know that's not exactly how sizing works, but fingers crossed. This is the one that I'm probably going to have to trim for bulk and re-zigzag because, woof, that's a lot. That's a lot going for it. Okay, let's iron this out and then we'll try it on and we'll see. We'll see. All right, moment of truth. Right, the sides aren't done up either. Helps if the sides are pinned in first. You guys! I'll probably have to top stitch the seam to make it stay over the iron, but like this might actually work. Oh my goodness. Oh.
Oh, the dinosaurs feared the T-Rex.
Okay, so now it's just sewing together the side seams, and then we get to start on the sleeves. I'm so excited. I'm a little nervous. I've never done bishop sleeves before, and there's a cuff with a button, and I've never done real buttons before, but I bought some covered buttons, so I have to do covered buttons, and I'm so nervous about it. I'm so anxious, but we're gonna do it, and I'm so excited. Oh, okay. That was a lot of energy coming at you guys. I'm sorry, my bad. That's on me. Yeah, I'm very excited. I will show you the whole process of doing the cover buttons too. Ordered them from a lovely shop on Etsy that's from Canada. That's always nice. I like to support local as much as possible. So yeah, let's get this top done. Dripping lights, paint the skies, only you. As per my MO, I definitely sewed the satin side. Like, sometimes my brain just does not process the way that it needs to get stuff done properly. I don't know. I don't know why it does this. I do my best. So if you're out there, you know, sewing on the wrong seam and flipping things wrong and doing all that stuff, and you're like, why does this happen? You're not alone. And if I am alone, you guys are doing great. Good job. Well done. I need a... Where's my seam? Just a quick check-in. I just got the sides sewn up and I wanted to just see how it's gonna look. And it might actually work, you guys. Look at it, it's so cute. It actually looks beautiful. Back looks nice. So what I'm gonna do is, now that I know it's gonna fit and it's hopefully, maybe it might work, it's gonna work, right? It's gonna work. We speak things into existence. This is gonna turn out. I'm going to trim all the seams and then zigzag the edges so that there's not as much bulk on the inside, so it looks a bit nicer on the inside. And then we're gonna move on to the sleeves. Hey guys, I lost audio on the rest of these clips, but I'm sure gonna do my best with a voiceover. This is the button making apparatus that I ordered from a small business in Canada. I'll be sure to link their description below. It came with all these guides, and I just cut out each size guide, so that I'd know always what size I needed to use without keeping the back. You put the fabric into this little hole here, and then you put the top of the button into the hole over top of it, and you tuck all the
fabric in and around it, around the teeth, and then you put the button shank in, and then you punch this this hole punch down onto it. It takes a little bit of pressure, but you'll hear it pop, and then you just pop it out, and it makes your very own covered button. It's a little hard to get used to. I had to use the little scissors that you can see to push in all the fabric around the teeth. Once I had that and figured that out, everything else was so easy. I did end up getting some fabric glue as well to button around these buttons so that they didn't pull out, because I was very concerned about the buttons pulling at the seams. So I definitely got some fabric glue. I'll link, of course, that below as well. I'm working on the sleeve cuff here, where you fold in the side to create a little like V where the button's gonna go, a little opening. And you do this on both sides of the sleeves so that when the button goes together, it leaves that pretty feminine little gaping in the sleeve. And then, of course, you gather the sleeve end as well to create that bishop sleeve look, that puffy look. It gave you a gather range, which is this brown piece of paper. And then what it has you doing is sewing the gather over top of the brown paper. And that just was so awesome. It was such a nice trick. I really enjoyed how that turned out. It was so easy to get all the gathers nicely sewed in, which I've never had ease with before, so I'm definitely gonna be using this trick in the future. Look how pretty that looks. It looks so well. I was so proud of myself. Now I'm working on the cuff, and this was just the cuff piece folded in half, and what they said to do was put it over by like a quarter of an inch the gathers, and then sew it on, and that's what I did. But it turned out that was way too much. That was way too much overhang, and it left a little bit. It left a very small amount for the cuff. Because what you do is you sew the open edge onto the cuff, and then you take the folded edge and fold it back over the seam and sew that back onto the cuff. And I just didn't like how small it was. I wanted a bigger cuff like what you can see here. You fold the edges over here, over the cuff and the arm seam, to keep that V up to the cuff where you're going to put the button all completely seamed in, which I thought was a really nice touch. This is how small the cuff ended up being after following their guidelines, and I hated it. I wanted it bigger. Trying to make it usable, I ended up trying to do a decorative stitch, and that turned out even worse, so I ended up just cutting the cuff off and trying again with both of them, and it definitely turned out a lot better, I think. For attaching the button, they ask you to do a loop thread buttonhole, and I'd never done one before, but I looked up a video, and it was so easy, you guys. It was so easy. And it went on so well. I looked up both the video for doing a button loop as well as doing a button. I ended up getting embroidery thread for the loop because that's what she requested. I think you can do it with thread, but I just wanted something a bit more secure, and I'm really glad I did. I will link both those videos below as well. If this is something that you've been thinking about and just being anxious about trying, I can totally relate, but definitely give it a whirl. It was really easy, and it turned out so pretty. So here's the cuff done with the button. I think it just turned out so pretty. I was so proud of it. I am so stinking proud of it. That's the button loop that you sew into, and then the button as well, and it just slides right on, which is really nice. And the cuff turned out so well. The seam turned out really even. I had to take it out once and refix it because it wasn't as even, and I wanted to be a bit of a perfectionist. Here's the sleeve sewn together completely up the arm sleeve. It's so pretty. I love bishop sleeves. I think they're so stunning. Sewing the sleeves onto the bodice was really hard. I thought I'd messed it up several times, but when I pulled it out, it turned out so great. So that was definitely a lot of needless fretting over something not going perfectly. It was very hard to mess up these sleeves, and I'm not sure why, but it was. The top looks so good. I'm so happy about it. I thought this looked gorgeous and stunning and flowy and exactly what I wanted, especially for having to modify the pattern as much as I did. I was so impressed. I brought out the skirt that I'd already zigzagged together, and I put a gather in the top. I didn't like how some of the seams puckered. I'm not sure why they did that. It seems to be something that happens with the satin though, maybe just it being on a different angle because I had cut the skirt differently than the pattern. It ironed out okay. I wasn't too upset with it, but I did put a gather into the top for it to fit the bodice still because it was still a bit big, and then I attached it to the bodice. The only thing I was upset with was there was a seam line right down the front, but it is very hard to see, so it turned out okay. I love the skirt. I ended up putting it on somebody as tall as me so that I could hem the bottom in a curve, and I just eyeballed it, and I absolutely love how this turned out. It looks so pretty. It flows so nice. It's everything that I wanted it to be. I am so happy with how this turned out. After this step, I hemmed the skirt completely so that it was already hemmed when I sew on the strap. I did cut the strap in half originally from the pattern piece. It was a very large strap and I just didn't want that. So I took the two half strap pieces and I sewed them together on the end, and then I sewed each side in like a strap, leaving a gap in the middle so I could pull them out and have them as nicely closed straps. When I attached the strap to the waistline, I attached it to the very bottom of the bodice because I wanted as much of the bodice to show as possible. I was okay losing a little bit of the top of the skirt. I definitely wish I had done this a little differently. I'm not sure how I wish I had done this. It didn't quite sew in properly on the fold and it was a little weird. It still looks great because it pulls tight, so I'm not too upset with it. If it was a dress that was just like a waistband, it probably would have had to be different. I tried to do a button foot, but for some reason my fabric kept getting caught on the teeth of the button foot and the teeth of my sewing machine, and it was a nightmare. It was snagging the satin on the inside, on the outside. I have a few snags on the bodice from this that I've just sort of smoothed out and hope they're not as super noticeable from other people. It was really difficult to do this button. I actually ended up just doing a really tight zigzag in a buttonhole shape and then cutting it out and using that as the strap pull through on the left side. I did put tissue paper under to help protect the satin, and it failed me a bit because it stayed into the buttonhole and it was really, really difficult to get out of the buttonhole.
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me, hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights paint the skies, only you can make me.
Yeah, so here's the finished dress. I think it turned out so beautifully. It's so nice the way it moves, the sleeves and the buttons. I love it so much. I love it so much. This is probably another one of my favorite dresses I've ever worn. Cost-wise, not super great. It's $20, right? Same as all these industrial patterns are. So that's something to think of. You could probably get something very similar for cheaper from a lesser known brand. But that is what it is when you're going to simplicity and McCall's and all of that for these types of patterns. Whether it's modifiable or not, I think I can do nothing but give this dress a 10, considering that I made it into a true wrap dress and it had a zipper up the back. So, is it modifiable? Yeah, do whatever you want. Ease of pattern, it was actually fairly easy. I would give this probably 8.5 out of 10. It was so easy. Everything was easily found instruction-wise and everything made sense. This one went well, considering how cursed this project was from the beginning. I love this fabric. What else is on the list? It's a 14 to 22 size-wise, so if you're of smaller stature, you'd have to do a lot of adjustment to make it fit. But then again, if you're going to make it a wrap dress, that is easily adjustable with how the ties tie. I love wrap dresses for being unsure of whether something is going to fit somebody or not, because it's usually you have a lot of wiggle room for the wrapping. So yeah, overall, I'd say for what I did to the dress, 8.5. I have no idea what's the true pattern because I didn't do that, but here we are. And I love this dress. I love this fabric. I think that they were perfect for each other, and how it moves is so lovely. It's everything I would dream of in a dress for movability. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.
I keep on falling for you.